Que paso, Marsh Pod. We got the SimWorld Prep Showcase announcement over the weekend. I believe, what was that, Friday probably. And you just love to see. This happens in all sports, okay? Baseball isn't too much because you get all 30 teams to make the All-Star game, but this happens all the time in the NBA. And so it's not surprising now to see it happen in SimWorld Hoops where folks come out and they say, well, this is not who should be on this team. It should be so on and so forth. And it's always the complicated fact where they say, well, this person got snubbed, that person got snubbed. You know, I think Cole Webb was a pretty common one. Kadarius Loftus, Nick Hugo were the three that kind of were the focus of everybody's they should have been on there. And 9 times out of 10, the counterpoint is, okay, fine. You want one of them taken off, or you want one of them added, take somebody off. There's not normally somebody to take off, right? Normally, like I said, 9 times out of 10, you say take somebody off. It's like, who are you taking off? You taking off, Caden Shipp? You're taking off Jace Maguez? No, you're not doing that. You're not doing that for Cole Webb. This is not to detract from Cole Webb, but normally the taking off of somebody is a lot easier said than done. It's a great headline. This person got snubbed. Sweet. Adjust it and tell me who shouldn't be on there in favor of them, right? That's going to become, especially for those fringe guys, is going to become very kind of preferential. Like, for example, Aaron Payne was the last guy to make it. He had 46 points. Cole Webb had 45. Are you going to take Cole Webb over Aaron Payne? Some people might, but if you look at the percentage of voters for them, Aaron Payne had 53% of player votes. Cole Webb had 38. I mean, look, you players want to come out and say Cole Webb should be on the team. Okay, 38 of you voted for him. More than half voted for Aaron Payne. There's your answer. But here's the thing, and I'm really sorry I'm about to have to say this because I respect this player, but there is actually a pretty obvious person who should not be on this team. Again, I'm really sorry that I got to say it, but the fact of the matter is Gabe Pope should not be on these teams. And I feel bad saying this because Gabe Pope is a really talented player. He's a good person. You hear a lot from him, but Gabe Pope is averaging 7 points, 2 boards, and 3 assists per game. I'm sorry, but that's just not a Saturday showcase. I don't need to see Gabe Pope in the Saturday showcase in favor of Cole Webb or Derek Long or De'Aaron Cruz. I don't. And this is why the voting for players, I know that the way that the voting is broken out, players get 1 point, coaches get 2, media get 3, and league officials, it's 4. And I believe this is expressed already. So the breakdown is the weight distribution per vote matters. But Gabe Pope got 63% of player votes. 63. That's more than Victorious Ilgauskas, who might be the best defensive player in the league in terms of big men. That's more than Mackenzie Mbako. That's more than Aaron Payne, Kadarius Loftus, Caden Shipp, Royce Anderson, Kevon Jackson. That is, of the players, the only people that got more votes than Gabe Pope at his 63 is Benari James, Arthur Lattimore. Arthur Lattimore did not get more. The people that got more were Benari James, Tyson Simpson, DJ Wagner, Bronny James, Trey Hyman, and Trey Turner. That is 6 players. Gabe Pope got the 7th most votes from the players. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Gabe Pope is not the 7th best player in SimWorld Hoops. Yet, if you want to go off the player voting, they would have you believe that he's the 7th best player. So we get all these coaches, we get all these players that come out and they say, well, this person should be on it. Yeah, you're right. And the person that shouldn't be there is Gabe Pope. And I'm sorry. This feels like an evisceration of a player, of a good person. That's not my intention. Gabe Pope is a valuable member of Southeast Select. But what he's not is the 7th best player and a top 30 player in SimWorld Hoops. He's just not. So to look at this list and say, somebody got snubbed, you're right. Cole Webb did get snubbed. Cole Webb came 1 point shy, yet 38% of players voted for him, 46% of coaches, and just 14% of the media voted for him. And truthfully, the guy that really should be on this team, Japhett Towns. Guess how many percentage of votes he got for players? 25. So out here, these players, I understand you're pulling for one another, that relationships matter. But Gabe Pope should not be getting almost 40% more percentage of votes than Japhett Towns, who might be the best 16-year-old in SimWorld Hoops. Yet Japhett Towns barely makes it in. Kadarius Loftus misses. I understand these are separated by conference. It's the other thing we have to consider in this. The legacy conference, just based off who's there and who's not, I would argue, is about 1 to 2 players deeper, but I don't think it's by much. But Gabe Pope is your scapegoat, if you want to have one. Gabe Pope is your scapegoat. He ended, like I said, 63% of player votes, 53% of coach votes, and honestly, the coach voting kind of makes a lot of sense, although they really helped out Lorenzo Phenom, 76% of votes. But overall, the fact that that's where we lie is part of the reason why player voting in other leagues does not carry the same weight, because it's obvious that players cannot be objective for what's in front of them. They just can't. And the players are going to come out, this is what happened and this is what happened. No, you cannot tell me you're objective when you put Gabe Pope on this team. This sounds like a targeted attack on Gabe Pope. I promise you, again, it is not. And I'm sorry that he has to be the one that experiences this. He probably doesn't even care, right? I think it's the other valid response to this. He shouldn't care. Just like power rankings, my opinion of players, take it with a grain of salt. If you don't like it, man. But you can't sit here and tell me that Gabe Pope is better, gets more votes. He got more votes at 61. He got more votes than Kadarius Loftus, Caden Shipp, Cole Webb, Nick Hugo, Japhett Towns. Nick Hugo, the only player in SimWorld Hoops to go back-to-back Player of the Weeks. Can't make it. Again, different conference, but his votes, 41. He is 20 points less than Gabe Pope. Last time I'll say it, because somebody is going to hop in and they're going to get on their little phone, type with their little fingers. They're going to become keyboard warriors, say this is all about Gabe Pope. It's not. What it's about is that the system, I know it's weighted in other directions, but even as it is, does not deserve to put him into this. This is a very glaring issue in general. I think otherwise, though, every single player that deserved to be there. I mean, yeah, if you look past, let's just swap Cole Webb for Gabe Pope. Let's just do it. You can't argue with me. I won't appreciate the argument that Derek Long should have been there. I think the fact that Royce Anderson ended up with 30 points of voting, which is 16 less than Aaron Payne, I think that's wrong. Nenny Gibson at 24 points, I think that's wrong. I mean, look, Terrell Pearson is the second best player on Southeast Select. He had 15 points. Legacy Conference, I kind of think they got it right. Levin Cutler, I'd hear the argument for Levin Cutler. Kadarius Loftus ended with the same points, but he needed another media point or a vote to get the percentage of possible votes. He tied with Mackenzie Mbako. But if I look at that legacy group, I can't in good faith put Nick Hugo over, let's say, Victorious Ilgauskas. I can't do it. Alex Rodriguez, I'm not going to move up there. There's really not on the legacy side. I think they got it right. On the legend side is where it's just ass backwards. I mean, it is. That's the flaw with this type of voting. And then you see these people that get on. Like I said, they're calling out for all these people to get named, yet they never actually decide who to take off. And they actually have a person they can take off, yet unsurprisingly, none of the players are actually going to do it. None of the players actually sat there and said, wow, Cole Webb should be on there. Gabe Pope didn't deserve to be there. I'm sorry, Gabe. This is not at you. But the numbers don't add up. The on-court performance doesn't add up to this. But we're going to get a good game. Other notable things out of this, unsurprisingly, Trey Turner ended with the most points at 104. I think, yes, surprisingly, Lace-Darius Outlaw, 82 points. 67% of potential votes. And Lace-Darius Outlaw, his points or his percentage of players, 57%. 57% of players voted Lace-Darius Outlaw in. That's less than Nas Hall, less than Benari James, less than Justin Bell, less than, you guessed it, Gabe Pope, less than Mackenzie Mbako. Lace-Darius Outlaw is the fourth best player in this league, and he's not lower than that. Maybe 5. And he got 57%. It boggles my mind because I don't think the players can be taken seriously, is the point that I'm trying to make. Is they can't be taken seriously because they buddy up. I mean, Trey Hyman gets 87% of the votes, but then you look down the list of other Bay Area breakers. Royce Anderson at 44% is the next one to show up. And then Caden Shipp at 38% of player votes. It's a fraternity. At the end of the day, it's a fraternity, and relying on players to make this type of decision, I think, is flawed. The percentages back that up. Lace-Darius Outlaw, by the way, 100% of media votes, 84% of coach votes. He gets in. I get it. He gets in. But, yeah, a little disappointing. And that's not for me to sit here and say that the media gets it right 100% of the time. I don't think they do. But it's just telling that some of the guys that the media actually voted in, or they would have, like, you kind of see through. Like, Cole Webb, 14% of player votes, of media votes. 71% of media votes is Japhet Towns. I think we could all safely argue Japhet Towns is that much better than Cole Webb. To the same point, though, Caden Shipp, 14% of media votes. I think that's wrong, right? Kadarius Loftus, 14% of media votes. I think that's wrong. So I'm not sitting here telling you that media gets it right, or that the players 100% of the time get it wrong. Although what's surprising is that no player received 100% of player votes. Trey Turner was the highest at 91. And then, by the way, Trey Turner didn't even get 100% of coach votes. That would be Trey Hyman, DJ Wagner, and Tyson Simpson. They got 100%. Bronny James and Trey Turner both did not. Bronny James also did not get 100%. Obviously, he had 89% of player votes. So both of those guys are 100%ers in both categories, player and coach. They didn't get 100%. That's wrong. But this is not a dictatorship, so I'm not sitting here saying I should be 100% of the time right. I'm just saying, by nature, these types of things are flawed. And by nature, we're going to get things wrong in one person's eyes and not wrong in somebody else's. That's always going to be true. But it's just like the time I think LeBron James should have been unanimous MVP, but somebody voted for Carmelo Anthony. It was a New York Knicks reporter, and they voted for Carmelo Anthony. Steph Curry shouldn't have been the first unanimous MVP. But there's people that come to these voting tables with preconceived ideas, and they mess it up. And that's what happened. But, again, 14 of our 15, what is my numbers? Here we go. 19 of our 20 guys are right. And that's pretty good percentages. Talk to you Wednesday.